this section, let's learn about application context as well as beans. So you saw that in order for us to have everything wired up, so in here, if I go back to controller, so let's just go class by class. So you saw that our controller in here needs an instance of customer service. Now, customer service in here within the constructor, it basically has this parameter called customer service, which then we actually assign this customer service, which is passed into the constructor, to this field in here. And you saw that in order for this to happen, we had to, so if I go back to customer service, we had to annotate this with add service. If I remove this from here, go back to customer controller, you can see that now we have an error. And this is because could not auto wire, no beans of customer service type found. Now, as you know, Spring is a framework for dependency injection. And the reason why we actually say add service is so that Spring can actually manage this bean for us. And I'll explain what beans are in a second, but they are super easy to understand. We say add service so that this class right here is instantiated for us. Literally, that's all we're doing. And you saw that we can say add component, but because we want to be more specific on the class type, we just say add service. And the same with customer DAO. So currently we have one implementation called customer data access service. And here we say add repository, which means that Spring will go instantiate this class for us, and we don't have to do none of this. So basically initialize all the classes manually. So we never do this. Now, where these classes, so customer controller, so you can see here has this annotation, which means that Spring will go initialize and manage this for us. The same with customer service and customer data access service. So where these classes are stored? Well, they are stored within an object called application context. So the application context basically provides basic functionality for managing beans. That's all it's doing. So when we stick those annotations, Spring initializes those objects for us, and then they get stored within the application context. Now, if we want to use these within our application, we can just use dependency injection, meaning that in here, if we have customer controller that needs customer service, we can just inject into its constructor, as you saw before. Now, this customer controller, it basically says, hey, I need an instance of customer service, and then Spring goes and say, oh, cool. Within the application context, I've got customer service. Let me give it to you. Similarly, if we have, let's say, a class called fraud service that needs an instance of customer service, it doesn't need to create the instance again because it's managed for us, because it can get it from within the application context like so. So this is what's happening within the constructor. So here, customer controller, we have the constructor. So this guy right here comes from the application context, which is basically injected for us, and we can assign it to this instance field. Before old versions of Spring, we had to say add and then auto wired. So you'll see this annotation used quite a lot. And this simply means that please go and find this bean right here for us and inject it. So meaning take it from the application context and assign it to this instance right here when we say this customer service equals to this. However, this is no longer needed. So having this annotation here, it's redundant because Spring knows exactly what it's doing. With other frameworks such as Juice, you say add and then inject, which is kind of the same concept but different annotation. All right, so this is pretty much the application context. Next, let me show you how to use the application context.